In this unit, we're going to complete the rest of Chapter 15 on user interface controls. And then we'll wrap up the chapter by looking at the support that JavaFX has for multimedia. The next UI control that we're going to look at is called the combo box. No doubt you're familiar with using this, although you might not recognize the name. You probably have thought of this as a drop-down menu or a pull-down list or something like that. But in JavaFX, we call this a combo box. As usual, we have the UML diagram here for you to study through during your study time. Note the two constructors. We can either create an empty combo box, or we can immediately populate it with something called an observable list. These are the items that you might think of as menu items in the combo box. Formally, this is an observable list with generic type T, and the T can be any object that you choose. The observable list that you saw on the previous slide is a lot like the array list, especially in that both of these take a generic type. So one type that's possible would be string, and that's what we use in this particular example, so it's a combo box of strings. In the first line of code that you see here near the bottom of the slide, we define a combo box called CBO, and we define the generic type to be string. The getItems method that you see in the second line is like the getChildren method that we would use in some of the previous examples, and then do an add all or an add to add children to that list. In this case, cbo.getItems is a observable list, and with that we're using the .add all method to then add children to that initially empty list. The children are then the four strings you see there: item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4. The actual picture on the right bottom corner of the slide, of course, has more items in it than just those four strings. You'll note in the third line of code that the setStyle method works with this combo box. And finally, the last line of code where we do a setValue sets the combo box to that particular default item. Whenever an item is selected from within a combo box, an event is fired. It's an action event. It turns out that observable list is actually a subinterface of list. So any of the methods that you can use with list, you can also use then with an observable list. Because the combo box requires an observable list, and you might have a normal array that you wish to use there, there's a utility function. It's a static method in fx collections called fxcollections.observableArrayList, which will convert an array into an observable array list. And the argument for it would be a regular, ordinary array of elements of some kind. In other words, this method allows you to convert an array into an observable list. And then, of course, once you have an observable list, you can use it in a combo box. We're going to do an IDE demo of a combo box in a moment. This is what it's going to be about. We'll have a label for a text field that simply says select a country. And it's actually not a text field, it actually is a combo box that you see there. You can tell that because you see the little down pointing arrow on the right hand side of it. When you click there, all the items in that observable list will show up, and then you can select one of them. In the bottom left corner, we see a label with an image. So the label is the string Canada, and the image is the Canadian flag. And then in the right hand bottom corner, you see a text area with a description of that flag. This is similar to a demo you already saw, except for the addition of the combo box. The image with its label on the left and the text area on the right are going to change as we select different items from the combo box. So we're going to have an event handler listening for changes to the combo box, and when an item is selected, an action event is fired, and we're going to process that and use that to determine which flag and label to put on the left bottom and which text area description of that flag should go on the right bottom of that box that you see there.